The Laughing Cavalier here, presenting to you another tale of these troubled times, and it's another unscripted video. So I hope everybody had a good New Year. I wasn't planning to make this this little one because I've been busy editing my Waterloo review. Quick update on that. I'm currently in the middle of editing a rant about the uniforms, so that'll take a little bit longer than I was expecting. In the meantime, though, I decided to watch the 2003 Henry VIII miniseries with Ray Winston. Because I have seen it before, but I sort of forgot a lot of it, and then watching it, it's a bit like us having like Vietnam flashbacks when you're trying to watch it. Although it's not as bad as I remember. Maybe because I've been stuck watching The Spanish Princess, so I'm just sort of sensitized to it now. But I don't know. But in my course of research for the because this is going to be Tudor Rant 4 basically, and I've already written nearly 3,000 words just today on the script for that. I've been doing a bit of research into the making of this miniseries, and I decided to look around for some sort of original opinions of it from the time. I found one from the Independent that's this is quite something. So this was from October 2003, just before the miniseries aired, and it's called A Gangster King Thing. Ray Winston is best known for portraying East End hard nuts, so he seems an unlikely choice for the role of Henry VIII. Yeah, you could say that again. Although I'll say his accent wasn't as bad as I remember, but it's still a bit. It's when he gets angry, it really comes through, and you're just left wondering, like, okay, just run with it. So I'm probably going to skip quite a lot of this and get to the better bits, but first paragraph. The Duke of Buckingham has been foiled in his attempt to lead a Plantagenet rebellion against the reigning Tudor monarch, Henry VIII. Yeah, that never happened. Because if you don't know the Duke of Buckingham, he was executed on trumped-up charges of plotting a rebellion. And I think there is debate over it. It's pretty much accepted it's probably fabricated. But in this one, he literally has a rebellion. It felt like I was watching Game of Thrones, honestly. But then this was made several years before, so. As the king interrogates the captured duke, he taunts him by holding out his hand and showing him his regal ring. Take it, Henry mocks, before saying with a threatening snarl, but you'll have to kill me first. You half expect the king to add, come and have a go, who think you're hard enough. That kind of sets the mood for the whole film, really. So let's skip a little bit. Certainly, with Winston in the role, there is no danger of this Henry being some sort of effete namby-pamby monarch who minces around smelling roses, reciting poetry and strumming a mandolin. Have they ever been like that? I mean, there's elements of that, but I wouldn't say Henry has character. He's not just that, As the writer Peter Morgan puts it, if Ray Winston is in it, you know this drama is not going to be too stuffy and up its own arse. And according to the lead actor, when my Henry comes into the room and says, I am the King of England, I want to make sure that people hear the sound of a warrior ready for war, not some poncy bloke with a bunch of jewels on his head. It's beautiful. That's poetry. It's a bunch of jewels on his head. I'm sure that's what when the coronation happens, and that's what they say. And now I shall place this bunch of jewels on your head. Skipping along a little bit. Winston undoubtedly invests the role with a simmering air of menace. One scene that looks set to grab headlines is a case in point. In the middle of a blazing row about her failure to produce a son, the enraged Henry grabs Anne and brutally rapes her. Yep, you can bet I have quite a bit to say about that when I get around to reviewing it. As Bonham Carter says, that was a pretty unpleasant scene, and it brought home just what a monster Henry could be. It's like, okay, so you've got all this drama with all this thing, and you have to make up a rape scene? It's like, I mean, I know Henry VIII weren't, very nice to people he killed, but like as a person, he would at least try and act regal. It's like I mean, again, we don't know for sure, but that seems a bit out of character. But I'll have to research it, I suppose. Winston chips in by acknowledging the king's fatal flaw. Powerful men usually have a weakness, and that always seems to be sex. It is a portrayal that diverges from the authorized version, because there's only one version of it. We have to religiously follow it of Henry's life, and Morgan is bracing himself for attacks from purists. Well, 17 years later, here I am. The writer, also responsible for The Deal, Channel 4's newsworthy drama about the Granita Pact between Tony Blair and Gordon. I've never heard of that, so I vaguely remember Tony Blair being Prime Minister, but admits that plenty of historians will find what we have done scandalous. It was the same with The Deal. You wouldn't expect Sherry Blair to agree with everything I wrote. But what I'm aiming for is to stimulate greater interest in history, rather than to score points with a particular version of events. The problem is that has to be grounded in something that's real. If you make it up, it's not really going to stimulate interest. And this is the thing, is people will watch this and they'll think it's true. So, I mean, like for example, when I was at high school, we were doing a bit about World War II, and the teacher decided, oh no, we'll do a bit about the Battle of Stalingrad. So they decided, yeah, let's just play that battle scene from Enemy at the Gates. But the problem is, the one where they show them all sending half the men in without guns and weapons at all, and then they will machine gun them when they come back. But the problem is that's not how the Battle of Stalingrad went. That's based off of, I think it was one rifle division lost a load of men in a previous battle. They've been sent to the rear. Replacements arrived, and they hadn't had their guns issued to them yet when the division got hurriedly sent to the front. And then when they were crossing the Volga, they didn't have guns. But then as soon as they got to Stalingrad, they had guns. But then there's kind of this like sort of Chinese whispers is built up, and now everyone thinks, particularly because of that damn film, everyone thinks the Red Army was charging and they're just without guns. When actually the Battle of Stalingrad was much more sort of, hand to hand, street to street sort of, fighting. And, the Germans call it Rattenkrieg, and of all the fighting in the sewers and everything. But now everyone just watches Enemy of the Gates and think it was like that. So no, if you got to be, people will watch this, and you can spread false information. Anyway, Andy Harries, the controller of drama at Granada, is also far more concerned with Henry VIII as a drama than as historical record. And for him, it is a walk-in story. I thought, Henry VIII and his 6 wives, can it get much better for ITV? Never mind bad girls, I've got a mad testosterone-fueled king who rampages around the place beheading his wives. You're putting this image in my mind now, just Henry just like waking up and he just grabs a sword and just chopping heads off. It's like, it's a bit of you're making a bit of a stereotype here. It's like, Henry was a man, a person. You could look at like different things here. Oh, never mind. Once I had Ray Winston in the mind for the lead, everything fell into place. Casting him made the project feel very contemporary. There's a fair warning, if I ever gain any sort of political power, I'm going to have the word contemporary banned and punishable and I'll find the most extreme punishment for anyone using it. When I said Ray Winston is Henry VIII, the ITV executives immediately understood what I was pitching. They probably groaned and went, oh shit, what's this going on? The Ray has this tremendous physical intensity. Henry was a very angry and irrational man, prone to terrible mood swings and violence. Well, it depends what, but he also did have quiet moments. He did write poetry. He had a soft side. That's why I love the Keith Michelle version. He does show all sides of him, but you go for one or t'other and make him just into a stereotype is not. Irrational scarcely does Henry VIII justice. When a friend beat him at bowls once, the king had him beheaded. I've never heard of that story at all. I think you made that up. But again, we'll have to research that, I suppose. Just in case we haven't got the message, Harries goes on to reveal that the drama is partly inspired by The Sopranos. The idea of the gangster king very much informs the piece. Henry had to do an awful lot of wheeler dealing to hold on to the throne. How did he maintain power? By bunging. What the hell does bunging mean? So this is going to be a very educational video here where I live research what it. Bung, gerund or present participle bunging. Close with a stopper. Blocks. So what is blocking nobleman? I don't. Anyway. Cardinal Wolsey, who was played by David Suchet, was famously wealthy because he diverted a large amount of treasury funds into his own pockets. There was a lot of gangsterism in those days, plus ça change. Francis Hopkinson also highlights the contemporary resonance. All sorts of machinations went on in Henry's court, but the Huttoning. What the hell's? Apologies for the live research again, but this has been 2003, so there's a lot of contemporary stuff missing. Hutton Inquiry, 2003 Judicial Inquiry. David. Oh, that's the David Kelly thing, right? What David Kelly's got to do with Henry VIII, I don't know. At one point in the drama, Cranmer and Cromwell bring Henry a questionable document that gives him power over Rome. We called it the dodgy dossier scene. The problem is, why do you have to cram that into? Oh, never mind. Emphasising the modern day feel, the producers were anxious to steer clear of period stereotypes, as in just ignore the history. So, explains Harries, we shot it in a modern way without any. Again, what cod language? Cod language. Google this. Cod as an adjective is an informal British word for not authentic. That don't make sense. Hang on. So you didn't want to have inauthentic Tudor language, but then there are. You say here there are no these or thous or my lieges, but that's authentic language. So I my brain. Ow. Oh, and there certainly is no ludicrous dancing in pantaloons. Hopkinson stresses that at the end of most period dramas you want to hug the costume set designer, but we didn't want to show off the production values, or you didn't have any to begin with, probably. Rather, we've concentrated on telling a cracking story, Gromit. We didn't want to prettify the era, which was raw and rough and tough. This is certainly not a chocolate box drama. The thing is, though, if I wanted to watch a contemporary drama, I just watch one of the many contemporary dramas that are on TV right now. There's every other channel has, a soap drama on or a crime drama. The whole point of me watching a Tudor drama is that I want to see what it was like in Tudor times. You have to make some allowances, but that kind of... Anyway, continuing on. To underline the gritty authenticity of the production, behind the scenes at Pinewood, I'm told the wardrobe assistants... Oh my god. Deep breaths, deep breaths. I'm told the wardrobe assistants are busily drenching Henry's underpants in cold tea to give them that credible lived-in look for a forthcoming love scene with Anne. That must be a tradition, I suppose. After you make love, you dip your underpants in tea. It's a quirky tradition, but hey, who's to argue against tradition? Morgan takes up the theme. Before I wrote Henry VIII, there were just 2 rules. No chicken drumsticks being hurled over the shoulder, and no lute music. Well, first point I'd agree with, actually, because that is inaccurate anyway, but no lute music? It's the Tudor era. Henry wrote music. Instead, the writer has focused on the fact that Henry is, to use that ghastly term beloved by psychotherapists, conflicted. He was a neglected second son. Well, his mother loved him quite a bit, I thought, but... Oh, never mind. Anyway, skipping on. His appetite for period drama now whetted, Morgan is now moving on to tackle another celebrated era in British history with an ITV1 production about Colditz. So, in striving for an authentic feel, or lack of authentic feel, I should say, he has the writer yet again laid down golden rules about the cliches, you mean facts, that must be avoided at all costs? Of course! There are 2 rules that are firmly in place for my Colditz drama. I've guaranteed there will be no cricket and absolutely no waxing of moustaches. In spite of the fact that cricket is a very popular British sport, particularly amongst officers, and a lot of men had moustaches back in the day. So even back in 2003, it seems we had really bad people making these dramas. So, yeah, I think I've said enough about that for now. As I said, I think Tudor Act 4 will be coming after the Waterloo review. I'm pressing that forward a bit. And I'm going to be tackling this. Like I said, it wasn't as bad as The Spanish Princess, but I've got a lot to say. I think we could be looking at another hour-long Tudor rant video with this one. Anyway, this has been The Laughing Cavalier, wishing you a good day.